not going to draw a lot of lines here. I'm just going to watch a swing that the fellow's been working on for a long time, and his improvement is coming because he's working on his short game, short chips and short pitches. You're going to see a nice, smooth, easy rhythm here, and watch this swing now. He's going to take the club back low and slow. How low is staying to the ground and how far back he's going. Now he's going to get up to the top, and he's going to stop at just about the perfect position. The club shaft is parallel to his toes and it's parallel to the ground. His elbows are still in relatively the same position they were at setup. Neither arm is cupped or bent, or wrist, I mean. Maybe he's bent the lead arm a little too much, but so what? We're not looking for perfect here. We're looking for repeatable swings. If I could get to that top position every time, I'd be a very happy camper. Now we're going to continue on down to the impact zone. Look where his head is, staring right at the golf ball. Never moves. More importantly, look at the club shaft. Parallel to the trail forearm. It's not running up and down the lead forearm. It's parallel to the trail forearm. Impact, extension down the line, follow through. Now, just for the heck of it, right here, I'm going to draw a line. I just said I wasn't going to draw. I don't want to draw one. I want to show you something here. If I draw this line straight down this club shaft, look how close this is to where he was here. Parallel, look at that. Parallel, through, parallel, exiting, parallel. Nice swing. It doesn't matter how big you swing. We just want the swing to be symmetrical. We can golf without a perfect Tiger Woods swing, but we have to have a balanced swing, something that's repeatable and it's easy to do. So we'll watch Charlie here take his backswing. Too much head movement right away. See that, how far he's moving? I'm going to go ahead and put a little circle around his head. Watch the movement. Pretty tough now to get back to that symmetrical position. Now see where he is here? I'm going to draw these lines in here in red. This is what we call the L position. We've got the club shaft and the forearm creating an L. That's as far as you need to go to golf. You don't have to have these great big looping swings, but what you'll want to do is have a swing that's going to look the same on both sides. Let's see what happens here. Now quickly, notice how quickly he lost the L. He's throwing the head of the club. That's what most amateurs try to do. Instead of moving the L in one position, they move the whole end of the club, and they lose their angles. And you can see how the elbows are coming apart. There's no way he's ever going to get to the L on this side. You can see that. It's not possible, is it? He's jammed in. So we're going to work on teaching him how to get to L, I guess is the right way to say this. We want to go from this L to an L over here that matches. Here we have a pretty classic two-plane swing. By two planes, I mean the arms are on one plane and the club shaft is on another plane. The difficulty with that swing is that we've got to move it in two planes. The club is going to go back and up, down and around. Let's go ahead and watch this in slow motion and see what happens. Taking his time. I'm always amazed at how long some people spend over the ball, and I'm not really sure what they're thinking, and I've asked them to, and they're not always sure either. See, the club was, there's your two plane. Now see how the club is straight up and down? That's the two plane swing. Then he comes over and hits the ball, and off to the right it's going to go a high weak shot. He's taking these great big potato plant divots. If you're going to do a two plane swing, it's got to be two planes both directions. From here, now he has to reroute the head of that club back down and under. You've got to go down and under to the ball, so you're coming from the inside. He's going way up and over the top. Very difficult move, very awkward feeling. That's why he's got a good swing. He's just not moving the club in the right direction all the time. This is another single plane swinger. Mo used to talk about the fact that nobody can do it without a proper setup. And the proper setup means the club shaft should be at the center of the back, and you see it's way up high. She needs to get bent forward a little bit more, probably closer to this angle right here, so that the arms and the shoulders and the back are at a 90-degree line. She's a little too upright. Well, let's go ahead and play it at slow motion. Let's see what happens here. It's a beautiful sunny day in Florida. There she's even lifting up more and pulling back. Notice now, stop right there. Now she's straight up and down. She needed to be on that line. I'm going to change that line now. I'm going to put it in white so you can really see it. That's where her head needs to be out on the end of that line. She's way up high, standing straight up. It's going to be very difficult to come back down to the golf ball and find a good impact point. And she dives down. She's still upright. Notice how she's upright. She's dipping down. She's got a tremendous amount of power, but by golly, she misses the ball because there's so much movement going on. Now, the good thing about it is she enjoys herself and has a good laugh about it, but it can put a toll on you. And I think she's a great athlete, so we just got to get her to maintain her body posture a little bit better. We have a pretty good setup here, except I'd like to see him a little more bent forward, and I'd like to see the ball a little closer to about here on his instep. Ball's pretty far forward. Now, what happens, because he's so far forward, he's facing the ball and he's leaning into the ball. What we want is that there should be a line like this for the lead side of the body to be on, so we're tilted behind the ball, not over the ball. Everybody feels like the ball should be in the middle of their posture, but it really shouldn't be. Now we're going to watch the takeaway here. He's going to sway off of it. Now he's kind of almost getting back to where he should have been. Then he drives way far forward. Now what he needs to do is, right about here, you can see that the hands are in a good position. He's got a tremendous stretch in his lead arm. The trail elbow is bent down. You can see the trail elbow is going to come down almost under the lead elbow, right on through. Then he needs to reverse that. He never does quite get there, never gets him quite turned over, and he's moving too much. We need to have the center of the swing be a solid pivot point that doesn't move. You hear me say a lot about posture and plane. We've got to maintain both of those. This is a golfer setting up on a single plane, which means the entire swing should go up and down the white line. In order to do that, the spine has to turn on the blue line. So let's go ahead and watch this in slow motion, and you'll see what she's going to do right away is lift the club off the ground. She's lifting it up rather than turning. Now she does manage to keep it on the plane, but look how far she stood up. Now she's coming over the top, gets back to it, but because she stood up, we'll back up a little bit, she's not able to make solid contact with the ball. See how the club is way too high. She's catching it out on the toe and low on the face. That's because she stood up, moved her hips, lost her plane angle. I want you to make golf as simple for yourself as you can. Stay centered, stay balanced, swing easy. My grandpa used to tell me the old saying about how winners never quit and quitters never win. I want you to watch this swing. This is the definition of a quit on a swing. We're going to play it in slow motion here and just watch what happens. It's got a pretty decent takeaway, staying pretty solid, comes down to the ball nicely, comes into the ball nicely, and then done. What's quit here is no rotation of the lower body through the swing. Right now, the right hip, right knee, right shoulder, right ear should be on this line right there. And he's not. Got to turn through it. He said, well, I hit the ground. The ground's not an excuse. The ground's just an impediment. Turn through your shot. Out of the sand especially, and on short shots. Turn through, use your big muscles, keep them moving. This golfer worked really hard to create a smoother swing. He was really chopping at the ball when he first got here. We're only going to see one thing that I think I want him to continue working on. Um, Obviously, in everybody's golf swing, there are a myriad of things that we could choose to pick on. But generally, it's better for us as we get a little older to do one thing at a time, something that will actually produce good results. I think for this golfer, it's the position of the hands at the top of the backswing, where all of a sudden he just folds them all over. He's getting too jammed up there. I'd like to see that left wrist be nice and flat. Then he can make a nice rotation down into the ball, which he does really well here, but then he wouldn't have to manipulate the club. Coming into the ball, great contact right on through the ball, good extension down the line and to a nice finish. Maybe he could move his legs a little bit more, maybe he could have got a little more turf before impact. He's kind of hitting the ball a little bit thin there. But we're looking for a way to go out and play an executive course or a par 3 course where we hit it down the middle, find it, hit it again, and have a good time. And I think he's going to be able to do that. A little less with the hands, and the ability to hit the ground is going to make a big difference. This golfer worked really hard to create a smoother swing. He was really chopping at the ball when he first got here. We're only going to see one thing that I think I want him to continue working on. Obviously, in everybody's golf swing, there are a myriad of things that we could choose to pick on. But generally, it's better for us as we get a little older to do one thing at a time, something that will actually produce good results. I think for this golfer, it's the position of the hands at the top of the backswing, where all of a sudden he just folds them all over. He's getting too jammed up there. I'd like to see that left wrist be nice and flat. Then he can make a nice rotation down into the ball, which he does really well here, but then he wouldn't have to manipulate the club. Coming into the ball, great contact right on through the ball, good extension down the line and to a nice finish. Maybe he could move his legs a little bit more, maybe he could have got a little more turf before impact. He's kind of hitting the ball a little bit thin there. But we're looking for a way to go out and play an executive course or a par 3 course where we hit it down the middle, find it, hit it again, and have a good time. And I think he's going to be able to do that. A little less with the hands, and the ability to hit the ground is going to make a big difference. Here we see a pretty good setup. Let's go ahead and watch this together in slow motion. I'm going to draw a little line in here, what we're going to call the power line. We don't get to do a lot of face on because sometimes the clinics are in the morning and the sun's behind us. The sun's moved around a little bit in front today. So we're just going to start this back in slow motion. We'll stop it if we need to. See if we can see what's going on. I don't like the position of her right thumb. It's a little on top. A lot of swing going on right there. See how far she's pulled off the swing, off the power line. By now, I'd like to see the club have hinged a little bit to where it'd be more back on this angle, back in here a little bit. So she never gets quite hinged. She just gets it up in the air. In baseball terms, we're bunting. We're not really swinging the club at all here. Now we're going to go down forward. She brings herself back into a good position here. Nicely struck. Rotates the club a little bit. This isn't too bad. I'm going to clear everything out of the way so you can see. She's got a pretty good extension here down the line. And then right on through to a finish. So if we can get her a little bit more hinge and maybe stay a little more centered on her swing, she's going to do really well. So we're going to try to get, you can see how much hinge she's got there. Look at that, 90 degrees. We want to match that on this side too. We've got two swings synced up here. One is the rehearsal swing or the practice swing. The second one is the ball swing. With most of my students, I discover there's a real difference between the practice swing and the impact swing. And that's because they're walking in now to hit the ball rather than thinking about a swing. So we're going to go ahead and play Dave here in slow motion and just watch the difference. One's the swing on the left, obviously, is the rehearsal or practice swing. The one on the right is the ball swing. Setups are fairly similar. Maybe he's got a little bit better posture on the practice swing. But let's just watch it together. You'll see takeoff. He starts back a little sooner with the practice swing. The rehearsal swing is coming back a little later, but they catch up to each other. And actually, he ends up beating the practice swing with the ball swing. Now look at the difference in the finishes. Look at the balance that he's losing. He ends up back on his heel. And on the other one, he's nice and balanced and ready to swing again. We have to find a way to bring our practice swing or our rehearsal to the performance. The performance obviously is the real swing. This golfer is doing the single plane trick of getting the right spine tilt away from the target by reaching down and just tapping the outside of the right knee and then bringing the hand in from underneath. Watch it bring it in really slow. You'll see that you're just going to bring the club in hand from underneath, turn it 45 degrees, and take your set. Now from here, you're ready to swing. There should be no more movement. You should have already had your feet positioned. You'd be ready to go. But what happens is he's going to move around a little bit, and all of a sudden he's going to lose all of his angle. See how he's made things a little more upright? Not quite the same as he was at setup. The left shoulder is much lower. Now let's watch the takeaway, see if he goes back low and slow. Does a pretty good job there, getting good extension there. There's a good spot right there. Now what we want to do is we want to see him come up. No, not body up, but the club come up. And we want to, he's letting go of the hands right there. Let's blow that up a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about, how the hands, let's undo that part. The hands are letting go of the golf club. Can you see that there? With both hands, he's letting go a little bit. Now he's even let go more. You see a big gap there in the palm of his hand and how the left hand is almost completely let go of the club. That's pretty difficult to swing solid from there. Plus he's lost his spine tilt. So now we're going to watch him go forward from that position. Let's see what happens. We'll move it forward. Head drives down. Not a lot of movement in the lower body. One of the things we want to see is the right knee, the left knee move out over the toes on the downswing. That gets the hip to shift. He straightens his left leg completely. Clear that out of the way. See how dead straight? Doesn't drive into the other leg, and he ends up stiff and slapping at the ball. What he has to be able to do in order to be a pretty good single plane swinger is we've got to learn how to shift the hip into that way, shift this knee to that knee, and then end up with all the weight moving forward instead of backwards. Last week, Al got himself all jammed in with his hands really close to his thighs, a little upright, and feeling kind of stuck in his golf swing. So we had him move his hands out a little bit. You can still see the end of the club shaft is hanging under his chin. He's in a pretty comfortable position right here. Let's go ahead and add in the swing, the back line. And you can see those are at 90 degrees, the swing plane in the back. So let's just advance it forward very slowly so he takes his takeaway. Notice as he gets to about right here, the club's maybe a little too far inside, but not bad at all. It would be in a better position if he kept his left arm straight, but he's folded it up a little bit here. So he's going to come back up onto the swing plane, not bad. I would like to see his shoulders parallel to the golf shaft at setup. So his shoulders, I'd like to see on a line that's parallel to the green line. You can see he's pretty far above that, too vertical. Then he's going to brought the club right back down on the swing path, leaves it a little open, rotates it through closed, and it's a great shot. He feels a lot better now that he's given himself a little room to swing. Okay, this golfer told me that his target was straight down the barrel lines, at that barrel exactly right there. You can see that his feet are lined up way to one side. His shoulders are a little bit on the other way. His knees are to the right. It's very difficult when your body is confused about where you're trying to go. What we're going to do is we're going to just take the swing back in slow motion. See what happens. We see right away he lifts up. We think we need to get the club in the air, but we don't. Our job is to keep it low to the ground as long as we can on the backswing. It'll come up on its own as we turn. Now he's getting up here, and you can see what happened here is that everything is folded up. His right elbow was bent way past 90 degrees. His left elbow was bent, and you can see that even his left wrist is bent. Everything's real close and jammed in. Plus he's raised up 7 or 8 inches, so he's quite a ways from the golf ball. Now as he starts back down on his swing, he dives back into place. Now he does a great physical thing here. He gets the club right back on the swing plane line, comes right in, makes good contact, and does hit it pretty much right where the target is. A little bit of a pull. That's the draw shape. You notice the ball is curving a bit. We go back a little bit, see it starts out and it moves a little to the left. The curve is caused by the path. The path is parallel to the feet. The feet were going out to the right. Therefore, the path was to the left. We get a little curve. We're going to work on helping him get a setup that's a little more centered and aligned with the golf club and the path. Now we're going to clear everything out of the way. I'm just going to back up a little bit. I want you to see, as he comes back in, how right there, he's in really a good position. You can see that his shoulders are perfect lined up. Even his knees are starting to line up. That's a very good job. And he did get back down to the impact position. Then he pulls his arms in a little bit and on through. I think if we can get him to keep wide at the backswing instead of jammed up like right there, he's going to be a really good golfer. A little bit ago, I talked about a golfer who was all jammed in because her arms were bent. This golfer is all jammed in because his body isn't bent. What we'd like to see him try to do is get himself on a pretty good angle so that there's his to about 45 degrees. You can see that his body's almost straight up and down. If he could get bent forward a little bit, get his butt out behind him and let his arms hang down under his chin, he'd be in a lot better shape. Let's go ahead and watch this swing in slow motion, and we'll talk about it as we go. We're going to watch. He's doing a little waggle down, trying to get comfortable, puts the club down behind the ball. Still hasn't moved, still pretty jammed in. Pretty straight up and down. A little bit of movement there, but his head came up. Notice how his head is up. Now he's trying to find a place to get comfortable. We see DB over on the left watching me photograph him. She's next, by the way. Here we go. Pull the trigger. He's taking the club back low and inside. That's pretty nice. Drops the club back in a little bit. And then he's pulling way up and out of the shot. Now you can see he's really dug in. Up and out, even more than it's set up, and the club goes around behind him. So what we're going to try to do is get him into a little more athletic position, get him bending over to about 2 o'clock on the clock face, about 45 degrees, halfway between 1 and 3. This golfer's got herself in a pretty good position, and this is DB. We told you she'd be coming up next. We'd like to see the spine and the club shaft at about 90 degrees, and you can see she's pretty close to that. Let's see how well she maintains that. We're going to play this swing in slow motion. Now, her issue has been raising up the head on the backswing. Now, you hear a lot of people talking about lifting their heads, but remember, it's attached to the spine. The head can't go up by itself unless you tend to look up. But most people don't. What they're really saying is their spine is moving, their hips are moving, their knees are moving. Let's go ahead and play this in slow motion and see what we can see causes the lifting. There goes the lifting. Look at the left knee. There's the head's right up, straight up and down. I'm going to stop it right there. Now she's no longer in the same spine tilt that she was at setup. That's why she's raising up. It's not because she's lifting her head. Her head is exactly in the same position, just not in the same place. Now she's going to start down, which she does a pretty good job of bringing the club back on. Right hand lower, very nice. Right on through, good extension down the line. And a good example of why golf is not a game of perfect, but a game of results. Great shot here, very exciting, almost put it in the bucket. Good job. Let's work a little bit on keeping that spine tilt bending forward like that. His golfer's got a